David Ogset here for Practical Shorin-ryu, and I'm going to continue this video series on kind of shadow boxing aspects of Pinan Sandan or Heian Sandan. Also possibly looking at a way of shadow boxing this particular sequence on the heavy bag. So I'm going to be looking at the sequence after the Shuta Uke, where you got that 180 spin around and various techniques from there. I'm thinking about this particular application in terms of either a cross arm grab or dealing with sort of a wild haymaker punch. The idea here is I'm thinking about how the kata is teaching us to reposition ourselves in relation to the enemy to get into a more advantageous position. Again, we're looking at segments of the kata and thinking about how we can shadow box those elements. In the last video, I briefly talked about how kata, in many ways, is a more formalized and structured form of shadow boxing itself. So why not take little pieces of the kata, little bunkai sequences, and shadow box them more specifically and with greater intent. So again, we're working on visualization, which is a really key important aspect to working a bunkai in solo training. Again, this should not replace partner training, but many of us are still under quarantine situations because of the virus. So trying to come up with different ways that we can continue our martial arts training using concentrated, focused solo training activities. So here is a possible drill that one can work, shadow boxing that middle part of Pinan Sandan or Heian Sandan. So in Matsubashi, in the style that I practice, this particular sequence looks something like this. And then we've got the three moves from there. So I'm going to be looking at just that particular sequence. So what I'm thinking about here, two ways to get into this. First is the idea of a cross wrist grab, where the enemy has pulled that arm down in order to strike, control your limb or whatever, and you need to regain control of your limb. So so from this position in the kata, think about that arm coming down. Of course, that other hand needs to come up to protect, but if as quickly as possible, you want to get that, sort of reverse that wrist grab. So one thing in Matsubashi, you're getting low and you're dropping this elbow, getting that hand up. Well, I'm thinking about using that to strengthen the reversal of the wrist grab. So if your arm is out straight, you're not going to be able to get that arm back. But if the arm is pulled down and you step in, drop that elbow, that might be able to get your hand up to reverse the grab. Okay? The other thing that I'm thinking about is it could be a wild punch where you're doing a kind of a flinch response. This hand is then grabbing that arm. Okay, so this is two ways that you can get a hold of their arm. Okay, it's either a cross grab or you're working from that kind of haymaker punch. So the hand has been grabbed, pulled down, you cover, you're going to get that arm back up. Now here is where that 180-degree pivot is. You're going to basically reposition yourself in relation to the enemy. So by stepping, the arm is up, by stepping underneath the arm, now you've kind of gotten to his side. You're away from his other hand. His side and back is here. You've got that strike. I'm going to do a kidney strike. That's going to lean him back a bit. From here, I'm going to grab that shoulder, the next step punch, another kidney or strike to the lower back. And then you've got to step up into that position. After here, I'm just going to slip my arm around his stomach, pull his shoulder back, and now we've got that basic position. Now he's set up for a throw. So almost like your shoulder and back to his back. It's going to be a nasty throw for him. That's kind of the point, right? So then from here, you're going to step out, do that cross buttocks, throw, strike, and away. So that's the basic idea. And then you can shadow box this, working either one, right? So you can do the one where the arm is grabbed. And out. And then you would just work it to the other side. The other thing you can continue to work is if it's off of a haymaker punch, right? So the punch comes in, you're underneath, strike, set up for the throw, and out. And then you just keep shadow boxing that move to both sides. Now we can also work this particular shadow boxing drill on the heavy bag. So I've got my belt tied around the bag here to simulate limbs. So I've got it still attached to the ceiling. So in terms of throwing, there's not a whole, I can't really throw this. You can detach it. I don't have a lot of room here in order to throw the bag around. But you can figure out different ways to do that. But I'm just going to leave the bag attached, but still kind of work this drill using the heavy bag. So I've got the two types of ways of getting into this. We've got the cross arm grab or the flinch response. So I'm going to start with the cross arm grab. I'm going to start by holding the belt. I'm going to imagine that my arm has been pulled down. I cover. I'm going to drop, reverse the grab. Here I'm going to step underneath the arm. Now I've gotten to his rear. I'm going to strike, do that first sort of kidney strike, and I'm going to grab his shoulder. So I'm grabbing the belt to simulate grabbing his shoulder. I'm going to step in and pull, strike. That should get him a lean back. And from that strike, I'm going to slip in. I get my fit here. I'm going to lift, and then I'm just going to do the rest, kind of shadow box the rest of it. I'm going to pull him around, strike, and out. You can also do the same basic move, but working from the haymaker punch, right? So I've got that flinch response. I'm going to grab that arm, step underneath, strike, grab his shoulder. I'm going to step in, strike, get the fit, lift, do the throw, strike, and away. So a little faster. Or working the flinch response. And out. So these are two ways that you can sort of work this particular sequence in Pinan Sandan or Heian Sandan. Again, thinking about that movement of getting the arm up to reverse that grab, or getting up underneath the person's limb. You're repositioning yourself in relationship to the opponent, striking, moving in for the throw. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on how you might take some of your own bunkai that you've been working on and turn them into solo training drills.